So, where do I begin? I I ask because I really don't know. This is something I have never done before, but I feel like it needs to be done for my own sake. For us, I guess. I'm not a professional, so I won't even try to edit this video. Consider this a video response if anyone's old enough to remember what that is. I will occasionally show images or text transitions so you know what I'm talking about. I'll be speaking from the heart. Sorry if I sound dull or drowned out. I really don't know how to project my voice. Talking out loud is a strange feeling. But I'm going to be talking about a video that Kothorix made about a community. I highly contest his viewpoints on the community, and I'm here to offer my side. I'll be talking about this video and nothing else. The scope of my discussion has to be very narrow, lest I get carried away or my arguments fall apart. The video can be divided into two parts, one that matters and one that doesn't. I'll discuss each separately. This first part is something about the community that actually matters: pedophilia and zoophilia, and we will talk about them both separately. Pedophilia is an issue, yet it's an issue that everyone faces. This is an epidemic across the whole internet, and it's only getting worse as our technology progresses. Do you really think that people in this community are targets of online grooming and exploitation? Well, who isn't? You know, this video could have been a beautiful essay about the dangers of online chat rooms and how easy it is to exploit children, yet you don't do that for some reason. I guess, why talk about something that matters when you can spew hot takes and buzzwords? I want to second your concerns about sexual predators, but I will go further than you. This is something that everyone faces. This is so common, it happens on iFunny, for fuck's sake. Let me show you how common this truly is. I found a paper I think everyone should read. Not everything in it is important to the topic here specifically, but I think it does have a lot to offer. It cites the following statistics. From 1999 to 2000, a study found that 20% of children received sexual solicitations in the US. The Child Exploitation and Online Protection Center received 1,500 cases specifically for online grooming, many more for sexual exploitation. From 2008, 32% of youth in Sweden had also received sexual solicitations. It also found that 66% of children use chat rooms. Do you even think a fraction belong to this community? These numbers are old, and it's only gotten worse since. You say if you're a child, you will be targeted by this community. I say you will always be targeted if you are a child. There will always be people who are there to exploit you, no matter your community. This is especially true for social groups like ours. And in your own words, you're a fucking moron if you think otherwise. Modern internet culture allows for such sexual deviancy. To prove it to you how easy this is, follow these steps. Google onion links. Go here, scroll down, download what's necessary. I'll link the paper I used for those stats. I just want to make it clear that we are not unique when it comes to pedophilia. It's an issue I deeply care about, which is why I know it extends beyond our little community. Everyone, please be cautious about who you engage with. Always steer clear of solicitations. Really, I beg you. Now we get to move on to zoophilia, zoophilia, however you want to say it, and I contend this much is obvious. If you didn't think that this community would harbor such people, then you're sadly mistaken. Of course we attract such people. This is the perfect guise for such. But you're equally mistaken if you think even a majority of people engage in bestiality. Zoophilia is one, bestiality is another. Data on the topic is iffy at best. I'm sorry, my research skills aren't the best. But I did find that anywhere from 0.6% to 55% of people have engaged in bestiality. That high number is attributed to a study from someone I only know as Kinsey. Paper was published in 1947. It's old, and I can only find references to it. I couldn't find the original. It is important to note that the research is often disputed for the sample sizing and research methods. However, it is one of the most common cited when it comes to zoophilia and bestiality. The report did find that 40% of rural males engaged in bestiality. These aren't just people who had thoughts, these are people who acted upon it. 40% is a high rate, especially if you take into consideration that maybe a considerable amount of people had lied. Do you think rural males from the 40s would identify with this community? Even one of them? I really doubt it. You cite that around 20% of this community has zoophilic thoughts. If your claim is true that half, around 10%, engages in bestiality, then it's slightly above average. There are many communities who have been surveyed, especially inpatients and inmates who have much higher incident rates. In fact, it is a general consensus that bestiality is on the decline as the rural population dies down and access to animals dwindles. The paper does also cite other sources too, many other statistics on different groups polled here and there. It includes university students, it includes the general population, it includes statistics based on identity, and it found consistent numbers among populations with a few outliers here and there. Again, I want to highlight that those who are mentally disturbed, those in psychiatric wards, or those struggling with conditions had the highest incident rate. Who would have guessed that sick or disturbed people would do sick or disturbed things? I guess you never did. The study I used here, I do actually recommend you read. It is very insightful about various communities, including inmates and psychiatric patients. And it even talks about animal preferences, myths, and internet culture. In fact, some highlights I found were that heterosexuals and bisexuals had the highest incident rate, and the study found that bestiality is not restricted by population, and the internet has propagated its existence. Who would have thought? Moving on, I would like to contend that evil people will do vile things regardless of the community they identify with. There has been and always will be zoophiles and pedophiles, but don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to excuse these behaviors or distract you with numbers. They are wrong and vile, and I do my part in exposing these people and bringing them to justice, but you are equally wrong if you think that that makes this community unique. I will never condone or excuse these behaviors, but there is literally nothing special here. We do have issues, and I'm not downplaying it, but you really are a fool if you think we're the only culprits. I want to second the fact that if you are young, please be careful. There will be people out there to get you. It's a sad fact of our era. but practice caution in every community you encounter, no matter what they are. As for zoophiles, please continue to do your part in bringing these people to justice. Please continue to do your part in exposing these people. I'll continue to do mine because I know it's worth it. As for the spread of HIV and other diseases, that is also something not unique to us. STDs have been on the rise, especially as of late. Even with deliberate intent too. Just a few months ago, someone in the UK was sentenced for intentionally spreading HIV. Go to the CDC's website and check on STD statistics. Most are on the rise and rising significantly. Do you really think that people are honest with their sex lives? Do you think people get tested often? Do you think people need to be wary if you date someone from this community? You need to be wary no matter who you go out with. You need to be suspicious of everyone. You don't know what anyone has done or what information people might be withholding. Lies are spread daily and diseases are spread daily. That is something everyone should worry about. Everyone. It's wrong and disgusting, but again, do you really think that what a few losers do behind closed doors is representative of everyone? I don't think so, at least. Also, it goes without saying that if you are surprised about rampant spread of disease in this community, wait until you hear about what happens in high schools or on university campuses. Hell, even later in life, this still happens. Now it's time for sexual roleplay. Since you're using anecdotal evidence, I will too. Statistics are hard to come by anyways. I have seen this, but I really don't think you know who to associate with. I would know what that's like. I'm the same way. Yet even I'm smart enough to flock to normal people. Why aren't you? You talk about rampant sexual solicitations, yet your stories are countered by people who have never had your experiences. This turns into a he said, she said, but I have seen more people on my side than yours. How is it that I can find non-sexual people in this community, but someone as esteemed as you can't? As for taboo thoughts and urges, I agree with you. But again, you seem to have lived in a bubble your whole life, and it really makes me pity you. I have seen and always been aware of what horrible things people will do for gratification. I'll say this, if you're surprised about what a select few people will do to animals, wait until you hear about what humans do to each other. You say an animal torturing sex cult, huh? I guess all Muslims are terrorists, and all Catholics are pedophiles, all vegans are stuck-up moral preachers, and all men are rapists. My point here is self-evident. Your narrow mindset baffles me like nothing I've seen before. You know, as mentioned before, there are sick people in this world, and I'm sorry to tell you that they will always be here. That's why we always need to bring them to light. We always need to find them wherever they hide, because they will be here forever, and as long as they exist, we need to do something about it. I'll mention someone else just this once. Kiro and what he's done, or what anyone involved has done, is despicable. But I guarantee you would have happened regardless. Remove the identity, and it would have happened anyways. People with intent to do harm will do harm, regardless of what law stands in the way, regardless of what morals stand in the way. Nothing can stop them except for active people. Active people like us. We can deter them to our best ability. We can do whatever we can to mitigate it. But most importantly, we can bring them to justice. It goes without saying that what anyone in this situation has done applies to them. The only thing that I ask is that you don't lump everyone together with him just because he puts on a ridiculous costume like some other people do. They are in no way the same, and I urge you not to correlate them together. Now we move on to the fun stuff. No more real issues, it's time to nitpick. We've moved on from the things that actually matter in this community. You didn't spend much time on it, so I guess I won't either. I said it earlier, but my God, do I need to repeat it. You really don't know who to talk to. You are so brain dead in this regard, it's remarkable. Use Twitter for all of 2 seconds and you will realize just how disgusting people are. The internet invigorates people. Do you not know this? It's easy to spout hate and insults and lie and argue. It's in every corner of the internet imaginable. And now you have the audacity to call out people for being fragile or overly sensitive or even too harsh. You absolute bitch. You are a real pussy, I'll tell you that. Get over it. Honestly, get the fuck over it. Modern internet culture enables armies of white knights everywhere. Again, look at Twitter. And now you speak of being afraid to speak your own opinions. Again, you seem to garner weak-minded individuals. What is it? Birds of a feather flock together. What I mean is you attract your own kind. I have seen nothing but acceptance of ideas and, in fact, rampant vocalization of ideas in this community. But you haven't for some reason. As opposed to this, when it comes to people apologizing, that is a peculiar habit certain people have, clearly not unique to us in any way. I know all sorts of people who apologize at the slightest misstep, who apologize if they think they've done something wrong, will apologize for incorrectly thinking they've done something wrong. This is something that people do. Again, you have this idea for some reason that because the people you hang out with belong to a similar community, that it must only be them who exhibit these behaviors. I think you need to get out and meet more people. But who am I to talk? I only see things, I guess. But I see a lot. And now you're calling out people for not growing up. This is the same as telling people they don't take criticism the right way. It's the same reason Turkey Tom is such a piece of shit. In fact, you're the same as him, but for a different community, but with equally stupid hot takes and this asinine sense of moral superiority. If someone can't take criticism, so fucking what? Get over it. If someone is childish, so fucking what? Get over it. Why do you care? Oh, it's how you better yourself. Oh, shut up. Why give a damn about what someone else on the internet does if they aren't friend or family? If someone wants to run from their issues and never grow as a person, what does it matter? If people block you, who cares? If people are overly sensitive, who cares? Don't associate with them and let it be. As for the weird cuddle RP responses, that is literally a joke, and I'm really saddened that all you know seems to be people who are literal NPCs. I've seen nothing but the opposite. And now on to hive mind behavior, my favorite subject. Because apparently you're too stupid to think it doesn't apply to adults. Did you miss out on the last 2 years? Have you engaged in politics at all, like, ever in your life? People have and always will believe what others tell them because it's easy. Why would someone I trust lie to me? You complete dumbass. Again, look at Twitter. Look at fucking Chipotle firing that woman if you want an example of hive minds. Adults are always out here sucking their own dicks with their fantasy of moral high ground. Oh, I'm old now. I'm impervious to even the simplest human behaviors. As for being a Nazi, get over it. The chancellor of my school is called a Nazi and a white supremacist because she followed the law, for fuck's sake. If you were to walk past that statue and not look at it in disgust, you are a Nazi. As for reports on Twitter, have you ever heard of swatting? If not, then you know about false flags and mass reporting. Petty people will do this, literally everywhere. This community is, again, not unique in this regard. Also, I doubt you use Twitter to the highest degree if you don't know what idiots are. The dumbasses of Twitter will post something popular from a few months ago, and it will still get as many favorites as if no one had ever seen it. Not to mention, literally every popular tweet on Twitter is kind of retarded to some degree. Also, is it ironic that you yourself say that this doesn't describe the whole community, but then follow it up by saying that it describes the whole community? I would like to know. Now it's time for more anecdotes. If you didn't know, I'm writing my ideas down as I go through the video. It's in order. So now it's time for petty, vindictive people whose sole purpose is to spite someone or enact revenge. Cool. Next, you're popular, retard. Don't you get that? There will always be bottom feeders who will prey on your downfall. It's so commonplace. I've seen the people I love taken down to their lowest because of petty people who seek to destroy them. But guess what? Not a single one of them are from this community. And now it's time for attention. We really are scraping the bottom of the barrel here, aren't we? It's no surprise that people want attention, especially today. Do you know how hard it is to stand out? Do you know how lonely and isolated people feel? Despite how interconnected this world is, there has never been a greater sense of bleakness. People want to be noticed desperately, and you're using that against them. But why? People want to stand out. They love praise. They love attention. Who are you to fault them for that? Also, back the fuck off people who spend money. Who gives a shit? I make fun of people who buy iPhones, but I know at the end of the day that when people say they like the quality or brand, they aren't a mindless NPC. They are being genuine. People like their sonas or suits because it makes them happy. Even if it is for attention, I will never go so low as to use that against them. Their goofy suits, no matter how cringy or expensive, doesn't harm anyone. Who cares if someone wants attention? If people want validation, let them receive it. The people who go out in public and suit around cool, laugh or appreciate it, and then move on. My God, are you fucking petty? I can see why you would be mad at someone for constantly wanting attention, but at the end of the day, why do you care? Truly, why do you care? Now on to SJWs and more. Hive minds. I feel like it's 2014 again, and my God, do I hate it. I don't want to repeat myself, so I will just say Brother Nature, and my point is self-evident. The hypocrisy of hive minds is self-evident. But it goes to show that they're in every community. These mindless individuals, if you will always set these unobtainable standards, and they'll always apply them to anyone they feel is convenient. It's how they work. But I don't understand why you think this is something that we do. This is something that everyone does. This is something I can find in every community. These people who set the rules for everyone else. People who won't apply the rules to themselves. People who apply rules sparingly in different situations. This kind of behavior happens everywhere. I won't touch on the specifics or talk about my own personal beliefs behind what artwork is acceptable. No one cares what I have to say about that. I see now that you claim to be an avid Twitter user, but you must be retarded, or you have lived in a narrow mindset for your pitiful social life for too long. I still contend that you have not fully seen what Twitter has to offer, because you for some reason think to still attribute the bad behavior of hive-minded individuals to this community. Have you seen the election? Check out political Twitter if you're disgusted by our community's Twitter. I do second your thoughts on a competition for suffering, an Olympics of sorts for those who have conditions, whether perceived, real, or fake, but I know this happens everywhere. People will always use their oppression as a tool to further their cause, yet you think we're inundated with this. Nice vocabulary. Hell, I've seen people in my classes argue about who has any real authority to talk about subjects because of their gender. It happens in every single one of my classes, especially for the university that I go to. People will always challenge you, use your history as some kind of indication about whether or not you can speak your mind on something. That's the world we live in. Now it's time to counter more anecdotes with my own, but I've never seen this to the extent that you describe. I hope by now you see the danger in using anecdotes as evidence. You've experienced something other people haven't. The only difference between you and me is that I won't deny the bad, but you seem to deny the good. Or at the very least, you don't care it exists. When telling stories of your life experience, it's important to realize that everything you've said applies to you, and I'm not trying to insinuate that my experiences are all-encompassing. They aren't either. However, I'm aware of other things that happen, and I don't think you are. Really, it's important to look beyond our own experiences and see what other people have done, gather information based on what everyone else has experienced, and you'll find that you are in the minority. If you think anything that you've discussed is special, any of these stories that you've highlighted are in any way telling of the community, you're wrong. So, when evaluating anecdotes as evidence, it's important to consider multiple people, not just one. I can see that most people who watched the video only considered yours. I guess that was all they needed. I, for one, consider multiple people's, including my own and now yours. Everyone formulates their own opinions based on their own experiences and the stories that other people tell them, what they choose to believe, what they choose to ignore. I can only offer what I think you have failed to see. And if you think otherwise, then that's okay. So it's not enough to say that we're like everyone else. I know it's dumb to say, but by that logic, you should abandon every community. Really pointing out that this happens in other places is just to show you that your conclusion that our community stands out is wrong. But now, I'd like to share my experiences with this community, which has been nothing but the opposite. I won't just say that what you've seen has been seen elsewhere. I'll say that you haven't seen what this community can offer. I have seen people, new coming artists, be given praise for their work. I've seen constructive criticism on comics. I have seen help, support, friendliness, community, all things that I guess you couldn't. The reason you could say I've been infatuated with this community is because I see every day its friendliness. I see every day its support. I've seen charities, donations, public events, get togethers, meetings, friendly conversations, subtle things, minute things, even the most basic of interactions, which are far more commonplace than any toxic thing you've described. For every one person who gets mad at you on Twitter, there's many more engaging in constructive conversations, making friends, commenting on each other's artwork, giving each other ideas, creating events, more conventions, things to celebrate common interests. Even the incredibly lewd or perverted side is nothing like you describe. I, of course, have seen people begging for roleplay, maybe a handful, but I've seen so much more normal interactions. Really, I guess from my lowly position, I see all the normal people. I don't, of course, have people out to get me. I don't have people who hate me. I don't have people who despise my existence, or I don't have people who work to spite me. I guess that's why all I see are the normal people. But I do see them every day. Everywhere I go, I see nothing but support, nothing but acute interest in one shared desire. That's what's commonplace. You are the minority. You and all the people, you and all the toxic people are the minority. It's the normal people who are quiet. It's the friendly ones who stick to other people who are friendly. Of course, I see people argue. Of course, I see people bicker. But that's normal. Of course, I see people act out in rage, people act out in spite, and that's normal. Really, the only thing that bothers me is the overabundance of friendship. I guess sometimes it pushes boundaries. Yeah, sometimes it's a little too much. But I guess it's a ditzy aspect of this community. Some weird, childish-like aspect of it. But hell, is it adorable. Really, there is nothing like seeing people flock to help another. It's a remarkable sight and something I see all the time. Someone reaching out within this community for help. The response that they get is something beautiful. I've known no support like the one here. I've known no friendships like the ones I've seen here. That's my experience. That's what I get to see. And I think that's what most people within get to see, but not many people outside get to see. But I guess we have people like you to thank. Alright, hello. I'm recording this a few days after, and don't know where I'll put it, but anywhere, I guess? It may, like break the flow of the video or whatever, but I had an additional point to make, so I'll just kind of toss it in wherever I feel most appropriate. But I went back and checked on a lot of things. I wanted to make sure that if I'm about to defend a community, you don't embarrass me behind my back and, of course, ruin everything. But I, of course, went around like the sleuth that I am, checked up old videos, new videos, forums, comments, chats, your precious Discord servers, checked up on everything, every place that we have a noticeable presence, and save for a few popular YouTube videos, I found nothing of interest, really. Normal conversations, normal people, almost boring. That's what I have to say. It was so mundane, I almost didn't even want to include this until I realized I can use this as a talking point. But it was just normal. Of course, people argue. God forbid. There's one thing I want everyone to remember. It's that everyone that makes up this community is human. We are, all of us, people, more or less. And as such, we reflect all that we are as a species. Something ugly, yet so beautiful. That's just who we are. Everything good that you can find in the world can be found here, just like everything vile. But I like to focus on the good part. I guess you could say I found what I wanted to find. Just how friendly this place is, just how friendly this world can be. I guess we always find what we're looking for. We believe what we're predisposed to. You could call it bias. However, it still stands as my experiences. But it also goes to show you how easy it is just to look. You know, everyone watches these popular YouTube videos about how horrible this is or how vile that is. Well, hell, of course, that's what's popular these days. Just make a video pretty much ratting out whatever drama, people flock to it. I understand that. It's so entertaining. You know, if something good happens, that's boring. No one cares. That happens all the time. Something bad happens, that's when people care. That's what people want to hear. That's what people pay attention to. But you have to look deeper. You have to look beyond headlines, beyond clickbait titles, beyond people's nonsensical arguments. Hell, if you want to know, join the community. Make your own argument. Build your own experiences. And then you can say whatever you want, and no one can fault you. Overall, your mindset is off. For someone I once thought was wise, it's shocking to see your behavior. But now it's time for a conclusion. And boy, did you get it wrong. This community is toxic, you say. Let's see what you've presented. Pedophilia and zoophilia, despite how disgusting and morally wrong they are not indications of toxic. They are issues that go beyond a toxic community. They are real issues. These are things that everyone faces, but sadly, you didn't feel the need to focus on that. As for everything else, I'm sorry if I'm starting to sound redundant. I really only have one way to counter the idiotic ideas you've presented, and that's just by repeating, it's nothing special. I know you could say that about anyone, no, everyone's the same, but people say that because it's true. People don't say that as a lie or a fallacy in an attempt to defend a toxic community. It really is something that every community experiences. You know, the people you've discussed, sad and depressed people, don't really matter. The sex-crazed people that hound you all day only speak for themselves, and the angry people on Twitter or Discord servers do the same. Weird or edgy people who seek attention are a complete non-issue. I'm sorry to say, but you have only outed individuals, and there's no surprise in that. You have found toxic people, my friend, and I'm sorry. Everything you have described applies to you and the people around you. The entire latter half of this video is just you bitching about people who are mad online. Again, this is everywhere. By your definition, every community is toxic. I'm glad you left because I want you to join other communities. I hope you realize we're all the same. All you've done is feed the hive mind on the other side. Congratulations, you fucking dolt. You've only affirmed others' toxic beliefs of us. No matter how disgusting a fandom can be, how is it that I'm smart enough to distance myself from it. I think I've realized the source of your problem. It's you. How you should have gone about this was explaining your story, explaining what you've experienced, explaining what you don't like, explaining what's happened to you. But I guess that wasn't good enough for you. You couldn't just say, I don't like it. Here's why. You had to throw everyone under the bus. You had to expose the whole community, when really all you had to do was say why you didn't like it, why you don't like the people around you. But I guess that doesn't get views. Now I would like to highlight a few comments that I saw. Of course, these are cherry-picked, but I have a point to make. But I like what these people have to say. They say things more intelligent than I could come up with. Their points are clear. I don't need to explain them to you, but I will read them to you. Not everything in the comments are entirely relevant, and to avoid wasting your time, I won't read the whole thing. So you're saying that everybody who is in the fandom completely lives like what you said in a video, and that everyone who joins the fandom as a new person will automatically be that type of person as you explained in your video. I smell a lot of bias. It just sounds like you're only voicing your anger and emotions, rather than voicing your statements and facts. You just described the entire internet. If you were hoping for mature people outside of the fandom, you were mistaken. There are more snowflakes and crybabies outside than in. The best thing you can do is turn off your computer and turn off your phone, get off all social media, and only talk to people you know in real life. Hate to break it to you, man. Though I agree with what you said almost 100%, you'll soon find that you're living in a bubble, and pretty much all communities are toxic too. How can you be so selfish, being roughly double my age? Seriously, all you manage to do is bait haters, and we see it through the comments. I feel like we're in two completely different communities. Your experience is unfortunate, but mine has been virtually the opposite. I never would have discovered my love for sewing and started my own business had it not been for this community. The fandom is not this open space where everyone is friendly and safe to talk to. It's a harsh and perverted place, just the same as any other part of this god-forsaken world. But just like everywhere else, there are parts that are salvageable. In the end, I feel like you are, in fact, focusing on a minority and criticizing some things unreasonably, especially the fursuit and OC part. If you've never worn a suit, I don't think you'd ever fully understand why people like expressing that aspect of themselves. And it's certainly not just to be noticed. I've met so many wonderful people in the community who have helped and supported me and helped me grow and develop as a person. Not everyone is bad. It all depends on the group you choose to be in and the people you associate with. It can be toxic or fantastic, or both. It's up to you. Choosing to surround yourself with negative aspects of it is your own choice and your own problem. Yeah, there's some bad people in the fandom, but there's bad people in general in every aspect of life. The only way to leave it all behind is to quit life altogether, which is not advisable. Do what makes you happy, but don't try to preach that the entire community are scummy and bad, because there's plenty of positives in this community as well. I think you burnt yourself out by surrounding yourself with nothing but negativity. All of those comments I agree with, and I feel like they put the ideas I had more eloquently. Again, you only speak for yourself. And I wish I could present my own ideas as short and concise as they, but here we are now. I don't know how long into this I've been. However, I would like to reiterate that you can't base your thoughts on a community based on your own experiences. You can describe what you've gone through and how you feel. You can describe why you don't like something. You can describe the horrible things that have happened to you. But that's your life. And how dare you damn the rest of us because of you? Now, let's talk about me. What are my credentials? Why does it matter what I say? Well, I'll tell you it doesn't. If you thought otherwise, then I'm sorry to say you were wrong, but I will still defend my position and authority to talk on the issue. For the rest of this video, it's going to be more mellow and personal, no more name calling or swearing, because this part matters. This is the meaning behind the title. Despite what I've said, I don't wish ill upon you. This is the part that's important. I have always watched this community, but from afar. Don't think that by not engaging, I don't have an insight. This sounds creepy, but it should. I have always been watching you for years. Hell, not just you, everyone in this community, and you never knew it. I've been through ups and downs, through accusations and lies. I've been there. I've seen what you do. I've seen what others think. That's my life. Watching people live the life I've always wanted. I've lived a passive life. But I don't need to be in your Discord servers to know what you do. Word travels fast, especially on public forums. There is no such thing as a secret anymore. I find out like I always do with these things. From my watchtower, if you will, I've gotten to know you. I've gotten to know valued and esteemed members of this community. I'm in every forum chat and image site imaginable. I've been with you this whole time. I guess from my outside point of view, I'm not clouded. I see the good and the bad, your worst and your best. I've seen what this community has to offer. I won't deny bad things have happened to you and to others, and I won't deny the impact it's had on your life. But I strongly challenge your view of this community, because what you have described isn't even half of it. I'm glad you're moving on and that you have found solace, and I mean it when I say I'm happy you feel free. But I also mean it when I say I'm disappointed in you. But I guess you are fed up, and I can't really blame you. But I can't second any of your claims. They all happened, sure, but that's representative of you. But let's use some personal examples. I'm Catholic. Do you know what I have to deal with? Constant hypocrisy and virtue signaling from wretched individuals, and that's not even the worst of it. For now, let's ignore faith and focus only on image. And boy, do Catholics have an image. I do not and never will support the Church's foolish decisions to sweep these issues under the rug. But hey, my university does it too. In an attempt to protect your image, you only make it worse. Yet, every time another story comes out about the horrible practices of disgusting people, I'm capable of defending myself. I can say that what they do does not correlate with the identity that we share. I can say that what they do has no meaning outside of their actions. When news stories break, I denounce the individual, not renounce my faith. Why can't you? I deal with the same issue being a conservative. Do you know who Ann Coulter is? I have to deal with her and others like her. But it's not on me. to show the world that they're crazy. I won't abandon an identity until its core foundation does not appeal to me anymore. I would never forsake the vast majority of people just because of a few idiots. No matter how embarrassed I may be with this identity, I stick through it because at its core, I still identify with it. At its core, I know that those people that everyone sees aren't representative of me. I know that I can stick through with it because I'm smart enough to separate myself from them. And now, talk is over. It's time for thanks. And am I thankful? I have always been and will continue to be a sorry excuse of a person. I recently hit a low point. Very recently. We won't go into why, except for one reason. The day after that low point, I evaluated the reasons behind why I felt like I did. Among the many reasons, there was one that stood out to me. It was one of the few I could change. Don't get me wrong, my secluded life has been a blessing when it comes to evaluating social groups, but it's been a burden to my own health. Ready to do the unthinkable, I fell apart. It's been a long time coming, but it was actually pretty obvious that I would inevitably break. I didn't want it to happen so soon, but I can't change what has happened. I had always struggled with a certain aspect of my life. You can tell by the words I use, or rather, the words I don't. I couldn't keep it contained any longer. I needed people who understood me, who shared my interests. Someone I could call a friend. But I couldn't, because I was too weak. Trapped in my own hell and no desire to do anything about it. And then you come along. You make this tasteless video. Honestly, I had never felt such animosity. Hell, it caused a panic attack in me. That's something I had never experienced until this year. I couldn't get over how mad your video made me. And in my darkest hour, you inspired me. For as pathetic as it sounds, please believe me. Up until now, I had never spoken to anyone first. Never made any of my own friends, never made any posts on social media or talked to anyone in video games. I have always watched. I always coveted what I was too frail to achieve. I'll admit I'm jealous. Jealous of the companionship I never had. But I found this community, granted so long ago, but I never engaged. It tore me apart watching everyone live through happiness. But now that's changed. I mean it when I say that your video changed me. I have never felt like this before. I am invigorated. I made my first post a few days ago. I'm talking to the people I was always jealous of. I've made friends, I've argued, I've been approached to all things I've never had. For the first time, I'm happy. It was something that made me cry when I first wrote the script. I'm happy. I don't regret the person I am, and I don't feel isolated, but my only regret is that this didn't come sooner. The repercussions of my destructive lifestyle are starting to show. Others were starting to notice, and I tried to escape it before I was ever confronted. You see, I'm good at hiding. I've fallen into despair, but I've landed into a community that is so loving and caring, it's unimaginable. I have you to thank. I can attribute this newfound purpose in you, and solely you. You pushed me over the edge. You were my breaking point. I have become a member of the community I have watched for ages, finally a participant, and I couldn't be happier. But most importantly, I'm helping others. It's not hard to find others like me, but it is difficult to help. Nothing makes me happier than the happiness of others, a parasite, if you will. But boy, do I love helping people. It it was something I could never do before. After all, how can I fix others if I couldn't fix myself? I'm still not perfect and I have a lot to work out, but I'm doing what I always coveted, being the one who was there for a friend when they needed it. It's amazing how one can change so quickly. This is relatively recent too, and I'm still in awe. For you, I guess we could have been friends, you and I. I'm not saying I'm mature for my age, but I have always related much more to adults. It's sad, but when I grew up, I was the one to say hello and goodbye to my friends' parents because my friends wouldn't. I, in fact, liked the parents of more than some of my friends. At parties, I would hang out with adults. As a kid, when I'd get invited to parties, I would sit with their parents while everyone else ran around. Where I work, I love my elderly coworkers, and in my engineering classes, I flagged down the one person who wasn't my age, someone from around their 30s to 40s, returning education. I have always related to the lifestyle of people older than me. I guess it's why I never had friends my age. I urge people to reconsider what this community really is. Of course, there are issues. Who doesn't have them? Yet that doesn't mitigate or excuse those who are degenerates or deviants. But it does go to show you that we aren't something special, in no way unique except for the interest that binds us. So, thank you, Kothorix, for contributing to the hive mind. The ultimate irony. You have undone a lot of progress and only affirmed what the mindless think of us. Stay where you are if you're happy. That's your place. Mine is cleaning up your mess. As a final word, thanks if anyone actually watched this. This video is really for me, not for you. It's the ultimate proof that I am a changed person. I would never have done this in my old life. If you want to make a response, Kothorix, I urge you not to. We aren't here to bicker, and I don't intend on having a conversation. Really, there's nothing of value here. Nothing to discuss. You made your points, I made mine. And that's the end. If you ever feel a need to respond, ask yourself why. And keep asking until you realize that I don't mean anything to you. What I said here would honestly surprise me if it stuck out to you. Who am I but a distant voice? If that's not enough, no, I'm not coming back. Making a stance this large brings back less than desirable feelings. Rest assured that I will cower after making this video. I guess some things never really change. For everyone else, I look forward to meeting the lot of you. There is so much for me to catch up on. I have to make up for what I missed out on in my life. I'll see you out there, of course, under a different name, but I'll be there, like I always have been. I'd like to leave you with a quote from A Handmaid's Tale. And so I step up into the darkness within, or else the light. Thank you, Kothorix. You saved someone. Farewell.